Same pill, same dose, same manufacturer. $8 in Canada, $340 at an American pharmacy. Not a similar drug, not a generic substitute. The same pill. That 40 times price difference is not a mistake. It is a system. And today we are taking that system completely apart. There are people in the United States right now, real people, not statistics, who are rationing their insulin, cutting their pills in half, driving across the border to Canada or Mexico to fill prescriptions they cannot afford domestically. And the pharmaceutical companies that make those drugs reported a combined profit of $1.4 trillion over the last decade. Both of those things are true at the same time. That is the tension this video lives in. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly how a pill that costs 11 cents to manufacture ends up at the pharmacy counter for $340. You will know every player in the chain that gets a cut of that markup. You'll understand why the insurance system often makes this worse, not better, and you'll have 5 specific tools you can use right now to pay significantly less for the prescriptions you already have. Let's start with the number that frames everything: the manufacturing cost of a single tablet of Humira, AbbVie's blockbuster rheumatoid arthritis drug, and for years the best-selling pharmaceutical in the world, has been estimated at approximately 11 cents per pill. The US list price for 1 month of Humira? Approximately $6,000. That is not a typo. $6,000 for a drug that costs 11 cents per dose to manufacture. The distance between those two numbers? That's what this video is about. And here is why this system is so hard to understand, and why most Americans, even smart, informed Americans, can't explain why drugs cost what they cost. Because there is no single price for a drug. There is the list price, the net price after rebates, the insurance negotiated price, the PBM contracted price, the employer plan price, and the cash pay price. And each of those numbers can be completely different from the others, for the same drug, on the same day, at the same pharmacy. To understand how drugs get priced, you have to start where the pricing power is created, the patent office. When a pharmaceutical company develops a new drug, they file a patent that gives them exclusive rights to manufacture and sell that compound for 20 years from the date of filing. During those 20 years, no generic competitor can legally enter the market. The manufacturer has a government-protected monopoly, and a monopoly, by definition, means there is no market force pushing the price down. They can charge what the market will bear, and the American market will bear a great deal. But here is where it gets specifically engineered. 20 years sounds like a finite window. Eventually the patent expires, generics enter, prices drop dramatically, as much as 80 to 90%, and patients benefit. That's how the system is supposed to work. But pharmaceutical companies figured out a strategy called Evergreening. You take your blockbuster drug, you make a minor modification, change the delivery mechanism, reformulate the tablet coating, adjust the release timing, file a new patent on the modification, and your effective market exclusivity extends for another decade or more. Humira had over 250 active patents at its peak. Now, pharmaceutical companies have a standard response to questions about pricing, and it deserves to be engaged with honestly rather than dismissed. Drug development is genuinely expensive. The average cost to bring a new drug from initial research through FDA approval has been estimated at anywhere from $1 billion to $2.6 billion, factoring in the high failure rate of compounds that never make it to market. The FDA approval process is rigorous, multi-phase, and takes an average of 12 years. That is a real cost. The question this video asks is whether that real cost justifies the specific pricing behaviors we're about to describe. The answer is complicated. Let's trace the drug from the factory to your hands, because this is where the chain becomes genuinely hard to follow, and where the multiple price points we talked about earlier come from. The drug manufacturer sells to a wholesale drug distributor. In the United States, 3 companies, McKesson, AmerisourceBergen, and Cardinal Health, collectively control over 90% of pharmaceutical wholesale distribution. Between them, these 3 companies handle the physical movement of almost every prescription drug in America. They take a distribution margin of 1 to 2% of the drug's list price. On a $6,000 drug, that is $60 to $120 per unit, just for moving the box. And now we get to the player in this chain that has the most pricing power, extracts the most money, and is simultaneously the least known to the American public: the Pharmacy Benefit Manager, the PBM. PBMs act as intermediaries between drug manufacturers and health insurance plans. They negotiate drug prices on behalf of insurers, create the drug formularies that determine which drugs your insurance covers and at what tier, and process prescription claims at the pharmacy. 3 PBMs, CVS Caremark, Express Scripts, and Optum Rx, control approximately 80% of all prescription claims processed in the United States. If you have prescription drug insurance in America, almost certainly one of these 3 companies is involved in processing it, and you have almost certainly never heard of them. Here is the specific PBM mechanism that most people find the most surprising: rebates. Drug manufacturers pay PBMs enormous rebates, essentially cash payments, in exchange for favorable formulary placement. If Pfizer wants their drug on the preferred tier of your insurance plan, the tier where your copay is lower and the drug is more accessible, they pay the PBM a rebate. That rebate can represent 30 to 40% of the drug's list price. The manufacturer inflates the list price to cover the rebate. The PBM pockets a portion of the rebate, and the patient's copay is often calculated as a percentage of the inflated list price, not the net price after the rebate. And the formulary tier system is the mechanism through which the PBM's rebate negotiation directly affects your healthcare. Most insurance drug formularies have 4 to 6 tiers. Tier 1 is generic drugs, lowest copay. Tier 2 is preferred brand names. Tier 3 is non-preferred brands. Tier 4 and above is specialty drugs, often requiring prior authorization and carrying copays of hundreds of dollars. The tier your drug lands on is not primarily determined by how effective it is clinically. It is largely determined by how large a rebate the manufacturer paid the PBM to get it there. Now, the Canada question. Why does the same drug cost $8 there and $340 here? The answer is government negotiation. Canada, like virtually every other developed nation, has a federal body that negotiates drug prices on behalf of the entire country. In Canada, it's the Patented Medicine Prices Review Board. In the UK, it's NICE, the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence. In Germany, it's the Federal Joint Committee. These bodies have enormous negotiating leverage because they represent the purchasing power of an entire national healthcare system. If the manufacturer won't meet their price, the drug doesn't get covered for the entire country. That leverage produces dramatically lower prices. And here is the specific American policy decision that created the US price exceptionalism the map just showed you. Until 2022, the United States federal government was legally prohibited by the Medicare Modernization Act of 2003 from negotiating drug prices for Medicare beneficiaries. The largest single drug purchaser in the United States, the federal government buying drugs for 60 million Medicare patients, was forbidden by law from negotiating on price. Drug companies could charge whatever they chose for Medicare patients, and the government was legally required to pay it. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 finally gave Medicare limited negotiation rights on 10 drugs initially. There are approximately 20,000 prescription drugs on the US market. Quick pause. I want to know, have you personally been affected by prescription drug pricing? Have you rationed medication, driven across the border, used a manufacturer coupon, or switched to a cheaper drug because your first choice was unaffordable? Drop it in the comments right now. No names, no details required, just a yes or no and what category. I'll be honest, the responses to this one are going to be different from any other episode. Insulin is the single most documented, most scrutinized, and most emotionally charged example of American drug pricing, because it is a drug that people die without, that has existed since 1923, whose basic patent expired decades ago, and whose list price in the United States increased by over 1,200% between 1996 and 2019. The three manufacturers who control almost all insulin supply in the United States, Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, and Sanofi, moved their list prices in near-perfect lockstep for over 2 decades. Congressional investigators describe this as a pattern of coordinated pricing, each company denied following the others. Pharmaceutical companies have a response to the insulin pricing story that sounds compassionate, and technically is. Patient assistance programs, manufacturer coupons, copay cards. Eli Lilly's insulin is available for $35 a month through their assistance program, and that sounds like a solution until you understand the mechanism. The coupon reduces what the patient pays. It does not reduce what the insurance company pays, or what the PBM books as the transaction value. The list price remains inflated. The rebate system remains intact. The coupon is essentially a public relations instrument that preserves the underlying pricing architecture while appearing to address its consequences. PBMs have a second profit mechanism beyond rebates that was largely hidden until Senate and House investigations exposed it in 2023. It's called spread pricing. Here's how it works. The PBM contracts with an employer's insurance plan to reimburse pharmacies for drugs at one price. They contract with pharmacies to pay them a lower price for those same drugs. The difference, the spread, is kept by the PBM. Senate investigators found cases where PBMs charged insurance plans 1,400% more for generic drugs than they paid the pharmacy. The PBM pocketed the difference. The employer paid it. The patient never knew. And here is where the conflict of interest in this system becomes structurally unavoidable. CVS, the pharmacy chain, owns CVS Caremark, one of the 3 dominant PBMs. United Health Group, one of America's largest health insurers, owns OptumRx, another of the 3 dominant PBMs. Express Scripts is owned by Cigna, another major insurer. So in many cases, the same corporate parent owns the insurer that covers you, the PBM that processes your prescription, and the pharmacy where you fill it. 3 separate profit centers, 1 corporate structure, extracting margin at every single step between the manufacturer and your medicine cabinet. Now, here is the genuinely good news section of this video. Because generic drugs represent one of the most consumer-beneficial mechanisms in the entire pharmaceutical system. When a brand-name drug's patent expires and generics enter the market, prices drop an average of 80 to 85%, sometimes more. The FDA's generic drug approval pathway, called the ANDA process, requires bioequivalence to the original, but not the full clinical trial process, dramatically reducing development costs. Approximately 90% of prescriptions dispensed in the United States today are filled with generic drugs. But, and this is important, 90% of prescriptions does not mean 90% of drug spending. Name brands still account for approximately 80% of total drug expenditure. But generics don't always enter the market when patents expire. There is a practice called pay for delay, also known as reverse payment settlements, where a brand name manufacturer pays a generic manufacturer not to enter the market. The brand name company pays the generic company, which seems counterintuitive, but the math makes sense for both parties. The brand keeps its monopoly pricing. The generic takes a cash payment instead of the competitive risk of market entry. The consumer pays name brand prices for longer. The FTC has challenged these arrangements as anti-competitive. Courts have issued mixed rulings. The practice continues. One more player in this story that's going to matter increasingly over the next decade: biosimilars. Biologics, drugs made from living cells rather than chemical synthesis, are the newest and most expensive category of pharmaceuticals. Humira is a biologic. So is Keytruda, Dupixent, and Ozempic. They can't be copied as simply as small molecule generics because living cell manufacturing introduces natural variation. The FDA created a biosimilar approval pathway in 2010. Biosimilars for Humira finally entered the US market in 2023, 20 years after the drug launched, and are already cutting prices by 30 to 85%. Okay, tools, 5 of them, fast. Number 1, GoodRx. GoodRx is a free app and website that aggregates PBM negotiated prices across every major pharmacy in your area and lets you compare them in real time. Here is the counterintuitive insight. For many common generic drugs, the GoodRx cash pay price is lower than your insurance copay. Your insurance company is not always getting you the best price. GoodRx often is. The app is free. The coupons print or display on your phone. You show it at the pharmacy counter instead of your insurance card. Number 2, cost plus drugs. In 2022, Mark Cuban launched a pharmaceutical company called Cost Plus Drugs, specifically to undercut the existing pricing system through radical price transparency. Their model is simple: manufacturing cost plus 15% markup plus $3 pharmacy dispensing fee. That's it. No PBM, no rebates, no spread pricing, no insurance negotiation. Just the math displayed openly. Lipitor through Cost Plus Drugs, $6 for a 30-day supply. The CVS list price for the same drug, $168. Same molecule. Transparent pricing versus the existing architecture. Number 3, manufacturer patient assistance programs. Almost every major pharmaceutical company operates a program for uninsured or underinsured patients who cannot afford their medications. These are often buried on the manufacturer's website and require an application, but they are real and they provide genuine relief for qualifying patients. Number 4, therapeutic alternatives. Ask your doctor specifically, not the pharmacist, the doctor, whether there is a generic or lower-cost drug in the same class that would work for your condition. In most drug categories, there are multiple drugs with similar efficacy at dramatically different price points. Number 5, international pharmacy options. This is the most legally nuanced tool in the list so far, so let me be precise. The FDA technically prohibits importation of prescription drugs from foreign pharmacies. However, the FDA has a long-standing policy of enforcement discretion for personal use importation of up to a 90-day supply for personal use, from Canada specifically. This is why thousands of Americans drive across the Canadian border each year to fill prescriptions. Several states have passed laws specifically allowing importation of certain drugs from Canada. The legal landscape here is genuinely evolving, and you should verify current rules for your state before acting on this. 5 tools. Fast. 1. GoodRx. Free. Often beats your insurance copay. Use it before you fill anything. 2. Cost Plus Drugs. Radical price transparency. Over 1,000 medications. Check if yours is there before you go to the pharmacy. 3. Manufacturer patient assistance programs. Income-based, often free. Always search for them if you're uninsured. 4. Therapeutic alternatives. Ask your doctor. Generic in the same class. 5. Canadian pharmacy option for personal use. Legally nuanced. Know your state rules. That's it. Let's close the loop on the full chain. A drug costs 11 cents to manufacture. The manufacturer prices it at $340 to fund R&D, profit margin, and the rebate they'll pay the PBM. The manufacturer pays the PBM a rebate of 30 to 40% of list price for favorable formulary placement. The PBM keeps a portion and passes some to the insurer. The PBM also extracts a spread from the pharmacy. Your copay is calculated as a percentage of the inflated list price. You pay. The chain gets paid. The 11-cent pill costs $340. And here's what I want you to notice. Because 6 episodes in, the pattern isn't just clear, it's almost mathematical. Paint, glasses, mattresses, beer, store brands, prescription drugs. 6 industries, 6 completely different origins, 6 completely different product categories, and every single time, the same sequence. Innovation, patents or brand loyalty, consolidation, middlemen multiplying, pricing made deliberately opaque, and the consumer surrounded by the appearance of choice and competition, while the actual market structure tells a completely different story. 6 times, same architecture, different product. Final summary. Fast. 1. The manufacturing cost of a drug and the price you pay for it are separated by a chain of at least 6 distinct players, each extracting margin. 2. Patents give manufacturers a government-protected monopoly of up to 20 years, and Evergreening can extend that by another decade. 3. 3 PBMs, CVS Caremark, Express Scripts, and OptumRx control approximately 80% of all U.S. prescription claims and profit from both rebate arrangements and spread pricing. 4. The United States has no federal drug price negotiation body comparable to Canada, the UK, or Germany. 5. Generic drugs work. 90% of U.S. prescriptions are generic, and price drops at patent expiry average 80 to 85%. The system, when it functions, benefits patients significantly. 6. Pay-for-delay arrangements, evergreening, and PBM formulary control prevent or delay that benefit in the most profitable categories. 7. You have 5 tools available right now: GoodRx, cost-plus drugs, patient assistance programs, therapeutic alternatives, and personal-use Canadian importation. The system is stacked, but it is navigable, and now you have the map. Episode 7. And this next one. This is the one that is going to make you look at your grocery bill, your utility bill, your cable bill, and your airline ticket completely differently. Because we're going into the world of drip pricing, junk fees, and the psychology of the hidden charge. We're going to explain why the price you see advertised is almost never the price you actually pay, and why that gap is not a billing error. It is a precision-engineered psychological system backed by 40 years of behavioral economics research, and the companies doing it know exactly what they're doing. If this video gave you something, whether it's the 5 tools you're going to use before you fill your next prescription, or just the framework to understand why the system works the way it does, hit subscribe and hit the bell. And share this specifically with someone who has ever complained about a medical bill, a drug price, or their insurance copay, because that person has been frustrated by a system they couldn't name. You just gave them the name. That matters. See you next week. One specific ask. Think of someone in your life who is currently paying full price for a prescription, or who has ever had to make a choice between medication and something else because of cost. Text them this video, right now. The 5 tools in this video, specifically GoodRx and Cost Plus drugs, can save that person real money on their next pharmacy visit. That is not a YouTube metric. That is an actual outcome. Share it. It costs you 30 seconds.